Welcome back. We have our eyes now on the oil sector. And recall that Nigeria is a leading member of the OPEC, and most of our foreign exchange, most of Nigeria's earnings accrue from sales of crude oil, and that makes crude oil a very important matter in Nigeria. But all kinds of things happen in Nigeria to the point where we move from one fuel crisis to the other. One has been going on now for the past 2 months odd, and no word has come from anybody in that sector to explain to us exactly what is going on in that sector. And of course, there's the issue of that Ribadu report. All that and more we're going to be looking at this morning with our panel, comprising Mr. Oladende Ariyo, who's a security expert. Good morning.
Good morning.
As well as Chief Sonia Adesuwa, who's a former commissioner in Ogun State. Good morning. Sorry, I beg your pardon, Ekiti State. Good morning.
Good morning, viewer.
We also expect the Group Executive Director at the NMPC, Engineer Abiye Membere, to join us in the course of this discussion. Let me begin with the mundane, Mr. Ariyo. For the last, Nigeria is the 6th or 7th largest crude oil producer in the world.
Correct.
And yet we experience incessant shortage of petroleum products. One has been going on now for the last 2 months odd. I mean, coming here this morning, I see long queues. I mean, what do you think we're not doing right?
Thank you very much. Let's start from the presidential declaration that the oil business is very oily. Yeah, what this says is that all over the world, people call the crude oil the devil's sweet. Why? Because if you look around, in most of the people they have oil, and it's not well managed the way it is done in Nigeria, poverty, crisis, and allied headaches, the result. It bears common sense why we that have crude oil cannot put in place all that is necessary to refine locally and then guarantee regular supply. Again, over the years, there have been issues of turnaround maintenance, refineries and all of that. So much money has gone down the drain, as you may recall. So many committees have been formed to review this, to investigate that. End of the day, even if we find ourselves at square zero, we will say we will move forward from there. We always end up somewhere before square zero. Okay? And until we wake up to realize that all of this come about due to corruption, I begin to address them fundamentally. As a family man, if I want to eat eba, for example, I need garri and a stove and water. If the stove in the family is faulty and we refuse to replace the stove, but instead go around taking our garri to help us make eba, we will take out more garri and bring back smaller eba. So that's the basic economics you can apply to this situation. For long as we remain, our facilities our are not working, this will continue. Again, I remember a couple of years back with some friends, we brought in a Brazilian company that into pipeline security. We wrote letters, we were called in here and there, and at the end of the day, nothing came out of it. As of today, between 6 and 30% of crude oil produced in Nigeria are stolen. On an average between of 6 to 30% of crude oil produced in Nigeria, they are stolen. On an average of 250,000 barrels per day. And I can also tell you that a company like Chevron, a company like Shell, even NMPC, they suffer more losses today than they were suffering during the era of militancy in the Niger Delta. So what are we talking about? It's all about not doing the right thing. And what is the right thing? Police the pipelines installations. And of course, let's have modular refineries, for God's sake. They don't cost an arm and a leg. And in 90 days, you can install one and then leave them working.
Chief, what do you think our major problem is regarding our refineries?
Thank you very much. I think he has started well by identifying those key problem areas. But more fundamentally, the intransigent problem of the NNPC has to be looked into. Holistically, you identify these problems, and I'm sure that is what was in the mind of President Jonathan by setting up this Ribadu committee. And the essence of that Ribadu committee was to ensure optimization, accountability, and probity of that critical segment, upstream and downstream. The inability of the successful government to address the problem of NNPC has persistently led to these problems of shortage of fuel. And if it is not addressed, there is no way. There is never a time we'll get out of this quagmire that we're into. So there is no way you will not look at what are the basics of the problems, from thorough accountability, from even the SAROS personnel manage these various segments, a few other issues that are germane to the survival of that segment. Any government that does not look at it is just marching time.
Okay, let me come in here and ask Mr. Rio. You've gone through the report, the Ribadu report.
Yeah.
What are the salient points that you can pick from there that you reckon should show that it negates what the government is saying in terms of it's false, it's incomplete, and it's deceitful?
Thank you very much. First, let's start from the mandate of the committee. I summarized them in 3 points now. That they should verify all petroleum upstream and downstream revenue receivable, including taxes and royalties. They should take all necessary steps to collect all debts that are due and are of course being owed, and obtain agreements, and enforce payment terms. They are very specific. This has nothing to do with the refineries now. Okay? Unfortunately, the committee veered in a way that at the end of the day they left undone those things that they were supposed to have done. Okay? Yes, they did extensive investigation, but going through the report, there are too many lapses. But the major one has to do with the content of paragraph 4 of the letter, which covered the report while being given to Mr. President. And I will read straight from that letter now. It says, the data used in this report was presented by various stakeholders who made submissions to the task force in the course of our assignment at various days, which have been disclosed in relevant sections of the report. Due to time frame of the assignment, some of the data used could not be independently verified. And the task force recommends that the government should conduct such necessary verification and translations. What they are saying is that this is a disclaimer. And in law, when you present a report and you attach a disclaimer, you are invalidating your report. You are writing off all the facts you have supplied. And to that extent,
we shall assume that you are a lawyer as well.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer.
Just a stakeholder.
But I told you I did small law in a contract law at the MBA school anyway. Now, to that extent, all the issues they raised are no longer enforceable. Okay? That's one. Number 2, remember this report was leaked to Reuters through whatever means, I don't know. Unfortunately, the letter covering the report given to Reuters technically and deliberately omitted paragraph 4. So, I mean, with all of these inconsistencies, the letter issued to the president was dated November 1st. The one to Reuters, August 28th. So, who is fooling who?
Okay.
Okay.
Now,
yes, let me go ahead.
Yes.
They went on to highlight the issues of some of the laws guiding operation of that industry being ambiguous, the unfavorable terms of trade between Nigeria and our partners, and the fact that those who don't even have refineries, who are just traders, are the ones lifting our oil. And some people are in that trade here, with that being on the master list of NNPC or whatever. Fantastic. But how far can we now go in beginning to review this in the face of these contradictions? The last time the committee met was in June. The job began in February, we stopped meeting in June, and pronto August, a report came out. Line with Reuters, another one came in November. I mean, and you that did the job said you did not verify. Okay? And the mandate was specific. If you go to terms of reference, as contained on 1 second, on page 11 of the report, it says to work with consultants and experts to determine and verify all petroleum upstream and downstream revenues, taxes, royalties due and payable to federal government of Nigeria. That is the number 1 mandate.
Are you therefore discrediting this report?
It is not me. Those who did the report already moved away from their report.
So, in essence, they failed to deliver on all of the things that...
parameters.
No.
One
They
or two.
see, to the extent that, okay, you gave me a job to do, and I came and I said, I finished it, take it. And I'm saying, okay, like I built the house for you. Okay, I built it, and I said, see your house, beautifully finished, everything working. And I said, I don't guarantee that this house will not collapse. Have I built you a house?
You have. It's just that it may collapse.
Oh, what are we talking about? So to that extent, because for us to make sense out of this nonsense, because I should not another committee entirely to rework all of this. So they have wasted quality time and resources.